Welcome to Casual Cinema, where we rate movies and TV shows from a casual perspective. We're your hosts, TJ and Jared, and it's finally glad to be back. It's been a while, guys. We know it's been a while, but we have a banger here. We watched a great movie. That movie being Deadpool and Wolverine. I think this is a great movie to review. To kind of bring back to the channel. I think it's worth it. But we saw Deadpool and Wolverine. Um, we kind of saw it in crazy circumstances. There was a lot of things going around our movie theater that day. Um, but all in all, we're safe. And we enjoyed the movie a lot, so to speak. And just to get, just to get straight into it about my thoughts. I thought it was really well done. I thought going into the movie, I was kind of wondering, how are they going to fit Deadpool, into the MCU and kind of how the MCU likes to do characters, are they going to kind of tone them down a little bit, like how we've seen them do characters like Hulk, how we've seen them do characters like Thor, even kind of character like Black Widow to a degree, characters that are usually kind of dark and stoic, they kind of, change them into a whole new different character. So I was curious on, what were they going to do with Deadpool? Were they going to water him down a little bit, or were they going to keep him true to what, he was when he was with Fox? And, I'm actually glad to see that they kept him exactly how he is. And, you just got to commend, someone like Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds has been fighting for years, to even get the opportunity to play Deadpool. I was, doing some research. He played ball, when it came to X-Men Origins Wolverine, that Deadpool didn't really have a good reception to him. And he played ball just to even, get him on screen. He disagreed with how Deadpool was portrayed. He didn't like how they stitched his mouth together, how they kind of made him, an amalgamation of all the X-Men's powers. He didn't really like that, and he sacrificed his love for Deadpool, his love for the character, just to be able to, get him on screen. And that, went a long way in terms of getting Deadpool to how he is now. The first Deadpool movie that came out in 2015 was a success. Deadpool 2 was pretty good. And now this one, it's really good. And I just gotta commend Ryan Reynolds, honestly. And getting back to what I was saying about, how I thought he was in the movie, I like how they kept him exactly how he was, just the funny Deadpool. He has no filter. He's still talking. I forgot exactly what the term was. But I think it's third
Breaking the
walling.
fourth wall.
Fourth wall. I said third wall. He's breaking the fourth wall, talking, to the viewers, to the fans, and just being himself. And I really like that type. I really like that we got to see, Wade Wilson, how he was in the comics in his movie. Um, you also got to love the action scenes. I really like the dynamic between Deadpool and Wolverine. They were kind of always at odds. They pretty much got the same powers. That being, the main thing being their healing factor. So seeing them go toe to toe and just basically just damaging themselves, but they can't die. It was really cool to see. I thought it was really well done. I mean, the fight choreography was amazing. I really like the scene where they had the 20th Century Fox logo in the
Hmm.
background and they're just duking it out. He's like, I remember Deadpool was like, oh, it's gonna get good, and it did get good. I'm not gonna lie, it did. Um, and I'm not gonna lie, Wolverine is also another character. I was like, are they gonna water him down too? Are they gonna make him like a funny guy, like how they did with Thor? It was kind of cringe how they did with Thor, but in this movie again, I'm glad to see they let him be his true self. And I'm gonna say this right here, and you can agree with me or not. I feel like, this kind of shows Marvel made mistakes with characters like Hulk and Thor. We've seen, in this movie, they let Wolverine and Deadpool be themselves. Just rated R, not really for kids, really adult characters, right? And they morphed Hulk and Thor from that into, kind of characters that, suit kids more. And I feel like that kind of backfired on them in a way. I mean, people look at the Hawk as a joke now. Like he's soft. And I'm sorry, but Thor Love and Thunder, that was just a weird movie, bro. That just made Thor just look really, really bad. So, what do you think about that? Do you think moving forward, Marvel should just keep characters the way they are? Or do you think, kind of, you know, comedy, I'm gonna make up a word here, but comedifying a character is in their best intentions. Like, what do you think?
I think that because I definitely agree with you, what you said about like what's it called? Hulk, that they really made him a joke and then he just becomes even worse, as it just goes on. I heard they're doing World War Hulk, so maybe that can save it. But,
Yeah.
you know, Thor, I think is a little bit more lenient just because of who Chris Hemsworth is. He's a funny guy, he's a jokester, and you know, the way they did it in Ragnarok and Infinity War was perfect in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But after, with Endgame, they kind of made him a little, obviously made him fat, let him eat his problems away. And, that's a serious issue, like having an eating disorder in that way, eating your depression pretty much, that's a serious issue. And it kind of felt like they treated it like a joke, and then on top of that, on Thor Love and Thunder, he was just, uh, that whole movie was just weird, honestly. I think that Chris Hemsworth did the best that he could in that movie, but it was too much Taika Waititi in that movie. You could just tell. I felt like inside the brain of him. So I think they was the perfect marriage of comedy and seriousness was him in Infinity War. Because obviously he dealt with the death of his brother Loki in that movie. And I think it was just perfect the way they did it. He was vengeful because like. When he threw that axe in Thanos' chest, he wasn't like, ah, gotcha, or something like that. He was wanted to kill him, and so perfect, men between comedy and seriousness. But the Hulk, it's just, I mean, even that whole segment in Infinity War where he's like, in the Hulk suit, Hulk Buster suit, and he's trying to break out, and Hulk's like, no, it's just like even that's like it's just like it's a joke. Like, what is Hulk scared? Like, when is Hulk scared? Like if anything, Hulk wants his get back, like versus Thanos, so. I don't know. We didn't even get to properly see a Hulk versus Thanos matchup either. I mean, he got his ass whooped in the first freaking 5 minutes of Infinity War. But that's pretty much it. So I definitely agree with the Hulk point. I think the Thor one, it can be done right, and it's been done right, but they messed it up. So that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, and I really agree. Thor, you really just reminded me Thor in Ragnarok in Infinity War. And honestly, towards the end of Endgame, I really liked how he was done as well. There was just some points where they kind of made him look silly, going through, his depression and his, eating disorder and stuff like that. But, all in all, I just think this is a lesson to just let Marvel characters be themselves. You don't have to make them funny. You don't have to make them more kid friendly. Just let them be themselves, and I'll go a long ways, towards getting the fans back,
Right.
in terms of, in the fans, good graces,
Hmm.
so that's just a little bit of our takes about the characters in the movie. And also we can talk about the cameos. The cameos is something that I was also, very excited about. I remember you did see this movie before me. So I remember I asked you, I'm like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited do you think I'll be about the cameos? And you said about a 7. I was like, okay, I was really hoping Ghost Rider would make a, an appearance in the film, because I remember, me and you were kind of discussing characters that we think could, be in there. And, Ghost Rider was on that list, but I was really, pleasantly surprised by what I saw. I was surprised to see Elektra. That's one character that not a lot of people really know about. Jennifer Gardner played her like in 2003. I got a chance to see some of that movie. Wasn't a good movie, unfortunately, but still, she's a part of the overall Marvel, kind of cinematic universe before the official MCU. I was really happy to see Blade. I he's a character that's kind of been shelved a little bit. He's kind of been treated badly. Mahershala Ali is having some trouble with, his own Blade film, and how it's being directed. So it was good to see Blade get some love. And then obviously Gambit, he's also been a character that's been kind of shelved, in X-Men Origins Wolverine. they were really hyping up Taylor Kitsch to be the next big Gambit, and he just couldn't really be that. So, Channing Tatum, really deserved the role. He definitely is a guy that's been advocating for Gambit for years now. Just like how Ryan Reynolds
I
was
was gonna
for
say
Flint.
he's just like the Ryan Reynolds for Gambit.
Yeah, yeah. So, it's good. It was really great to see those cameos. It was refreshing. And last but not least, Chris Evans as the Human Torch, not arguably, he was the best Human Torch. He's played two goated characters, the Human Torch and Captain
hmm
America. He's, really done it all. So, what were your thoughts about the cameos? Because you really enjoyed the Human Torch one a lot, I could see when we
Yeah,
watched.
the Human Torch one, and honestly, the Blade one were probably my favorites of the movie. And then Gambit became my favorite towards the end. He was just a goofball. And
Oh yeah.
his power set's really goofy as well. And it's just I don't know. I like that, but I'm not gonna sit here and like say I know everything about the Fox movies. I haven't seen a lot of them. I've seen only some of them, but so like it's this movie is obviously a love letter, or the not the end game, but the sort of like end game-ish, for the Fox universe characters as well. So well then obviously, X-23 was in this movie as well from Logan as well. So I don't know, like I thought they were done really well. I think that this movie, played a little bit of a better part, like almost like a better version of Multiverse of Madness in a way, with the cameos and just the overall multiverse traveling as well, before they get into the void. And you know, I remember when I first watched the movie, and then the Chris Evans, Human Torch pops up, because you don't see him at first. Like I think there's like a good like 2 minutes you don't see him. You can only hear the voice. I couldn't tell it was Chris Evans at first. But he jumps down and like takes his hood off, and it's Chris Evans, and I'm really thinking like that's not Captain America, because I'm thinking like, is it Nomad? Like, well, who is this? Like, is it some kind of dark Captain America or whatever? But no, like he's just flame on, and then even Deadpool is surprised, and that was kind of funny, because he's like he thought he's gonna say what Avengers Assemble or something like that, and like he's just flame on, so that was a really surprising kid because didn't even think like, oh yeah, he did play, Human Torch back in the very first Fantastic Four movies that came out. What like I forgot what years those came out. There was like two of
2005,
those.
2006,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. There was like two of those. There was like what? There was like Jessica Alba was in that too, right?
Yeah.
So that's all I remember. I know people really like their Reed Richards, I think, too. Or is it that one or the second version? I forgot which because
Every
there's
Richards
apparently
movie.
I would say the second version. I've never seen the second. I think I watched the first Fantastic Four when I was a kid or something like that. But like I don't remember much of it. Like I don't remember. Like I didn't. I totally forgot that Chris Evans played it. But I didn't see the second one. I think that was when the one with Michael B. Jordan as Human Torch, the second
And no,
version.
that one
But
needs to be thrown in the garbage. Nobody.
that movie needs to be in the void. Like that whole movie, then the void and Deadpool and Loki, But that needs to be in the deeper void, like the Forgotten Torches or Forgotten Land or whatever. So apparently, I'm gonna watch it one day. I just want to see how bad it is. I'm gonna hate watch it. But but no, I think overall the cameos are done very well. And I think they fit into the story as well. And they're not just cameos. It's not just like, oh, hey, here's this character. Like, no, they do something.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They actually have a little bit of screen time and
Yeah, they
they
don't
look
get
better.
killed by Wanda in like 5 seconds.
Yeah. And they look pretty cool doing it. So, we definitely do approve of the cameos. I, that's one thing that Marvel always does really good is cameos. The
Absolutely.
MCU, they do cameos really well. So, we definitely do, we definitely did enjoy them. And, you kind of brought up a good point. This movie is kind of similar to Multiverse of Madness, kind of the overall, I wouldn't say their goal, but in a way, the powers that Cassandra Nova and Scarlet Witch had are kind of a little bit similar in a way. They both kind of had reality warping powers that,
Sorry.
they were really powerful,
Right.
so there is a lot of similarities between the two movies. I'm actually kind of glad you brought that up, but I guess we can move now into, the overall plot, and that also, goes into what was our favorite parts of the movie, and then we can end up wrapping it up. So, I would just talk about how I was, going into this movie, I was kind of interested to see how Wolverine was going to be brought in. Obviously, I knew he was going to be in the movie, but how would he be brought in? And we do see the TVA plays a good part in it. You know, Deadpool's universe is basically on the verge of being erased. And himself and as well as Wolverine is a big part of that, and so he kind of has to go through all of these, alternate timelines, alternate dimensions to find Wolverine. We see a Henry Cavill Wolverine.
Yeah. What do they call him? The Cavalrine?
Yeah, the Cavalry. We see a Wolverine versus Hawk because it was like a reflection of Hawk and his
Yeah.
claw. We
I think it
see
was the Mark Ruffalo Hulk too.
Yeah, it was Mark. Yep.
So you
I
know he got
can't
his
wait to see
ass
that
whooped.
battle. Uh, I wouldn't be surprised if the Hawk would say, "Oh no, I'm sorry." Yeah, but we see some other Wolverines. I do remember watching a video. It was like a comic version of like an amalgamation of Wolverine and Cable, or I don't know, something like that. But we see Deadpool go through quite a bit of Wolverines, but ultimately, he stops at the one that's seen in the movie, and it kind of seems like the way he found Wolverine was like in the scene of in the Wolverine movie where he's in a bar, and he kind of
Yeah.
gets into a little bar fight. It's kind of similar to that scene. It could have been that scene, or I don't know, but I thought it was very clever how they kind of pieced in Wolverine into the plot, and kind of, made him and Deadpool, come to be throughout the rest of the movie. So, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think that this movie could have easily been lost in the multiversal, mumbo jumbo stuff, because the multiverse stuff just hasn't really been a very much of a fan favorite. A lot of the, movies have really failed. I think that Spider-Man No Way Home did really good. Loki, the TV show, did really good. Obviously, that's not a movie, but Multiverse of Madness had mixed receptions. Um, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was, had terrible reviews, and ultimately got Jonathan Majors fired outside of, the other things that happened, but the multiverse stuff just wasn't. Oh, and then I guess technically the Marvels too. It's not a multiversal movie, but the end of the movie, but not a lot of people have been big fans of the multiverse stuff because it gets confusing, but I think they did a good job. They kept it simple and there wasn't anything too complicated. The anchor being subject, they did a very good job, with the TVA as well. They brought in some characters from Loki as well into well, only one. It was only Hunter B-15 they brought in to the Deadpool movie, but it was nice to see her, show up. It wasn't just some random TVA agents outside of Paradox. We hadn't seen him before up until this movie, but I thought he did it really good in his minimal screen time as well. He was complete douchebag, and that was his role. So the fact that he's willing to kill universes quickly, but that poses an interesting threat in the future. With how many people are gonna side with his ideology, and how many people are gonna want to go off their own, you know, into their own sub, divisions or whatever of the TVA to do their own thing, considering there is no boss of the TVA at the moment outside of Loki, who's holding together the multiverse pretty much. So that's kind of interesting in my opinion. If anybody's gonna follow in Paradox footsteps, but going back to the movie, I do like how they don't, disrespect Logan. The whole that whole movie at the end of it. Obviously, he uses his corpse in the beginning of the movie with that whole dance routine or whatever. That could have easily been extremely cringe and annoying, but I just think that it was just funny. That whole scene, I think that that whole scene was really good. It was, shot really well as well. And that seems to be a very much of a fan favorite, that whole beginning scene, when he's doing the NSYNC dance or whatever. So, yeah, I think that was funny, and I think that a lot of people really like that as well, but um let me think. And then like I said earlier, the cameos did their part. They came to the story and had a purpose. They weren't just there. And I think that that's the best part of cameos is characters we haven't seen in a while that come and serve a story. 20 years later. Just like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, like doing their thing in the end of No Way Home. And but Multiverse of Madness, they get killed in like the first 5 minutes, and so we don't want to see stuff like that. We want to see them live and fight, and that's exactly what happened, and it leaves it up to the, question, what happened to them at the end of the movie. Did they get to go home? Did they go to a new home? But I think the movie's really good, and they keep everything simple, they keep everything fun, and keep everything goofy, and that's what I love about this movie.
Yeah, and speaking of that, kind of intro scene, where they were playing NSYNC, that has to be one of the greatest, intro MCU scenes I've ever seen. I honestly that song and the whole scene still plays in my head sometimes. That
Yeah.
was a really, really cool scene, and the choreography and all that was really nice. And
Yeah.
um, I just thought it was crazy how he was just shredding through the TVA agents. Like I
Yeah.
never thought I would see something like that in MCU, like just blood everywhere, and he's grabbing people's spines and
Ripping their heads off
doing all
and
types of crazy stuff. Like, yeah, he honestly looks superhuman in that scene right there. But yeah, it's safe to say, me and Jared approve of the overall plot in this movie.
Mhm.
So it was a good movie. It was a really well-written plot. Well-written. Well-written plot. My God.
The
So
only thing that I will say is I kind of wish that they showed the whole thing with Wolverine. Because, like, obviously, you brought up the question during the movie, like, how would humans kill a whole bunch of, mutants or whatever? And I brought up the point, like, maybe they use the Sentinels to do it, but um, obviously we know that, the X-Men mutants have been treated very fairly in the comics or in the movies or whatever. They've been, kind of segregated in a way, from society as well, to the point where they had to make a school for each other, and like with Professor X doing that, So I think that they should have shown something like that, like a heartbreaking scene. I feel like they just kind of, it obviously didn't brush over it. That was the main point of the Wolverines, story, but sometimes I do like the show don't tell, like just show us, don't just tell us it happened, even if it's just like a small little flashback or whatever, like, and I don't know, like give us a reason because like you could use the same characters you used in the old X-Men movies and it would just be as heartbreaking, but I don't know. I just kind of wish they showed us, a little bit more, of Wolverine's backstory, and instead of him just saying it, I guess. But I don't know. Maybe that's kind of a unpopular opinion, but that's kind of how I would have liked it.
yeah, and I also kind of wish they showed, what sort of happened with him in the X-Men. How did he? It was inferred that he had maybe, left him to die.
Yeah.
So I wish we could have at least got a little bit of a scene, maybe a little bit of visualizer of what happened with that.
Hmm.
But I would say, going into what my favorite scene in the movie was, I actually have two. I actually have a lot. I like the beginning. I like towards the beginning, where NSYNC is playing and he's fighting against the TVA agents. Um, I also like, just the scene where he's assembled with Elektra, Blade, X-23, Gambit, and they're sort of, having an assault on Cassandra Nova's kind of fortress. Um, I also really like the scene. What's that one scene called? I like the scene where Human Torch is first introduced, and that was right, after they were sort of fighting against each other. So I think those are my, three, top three favorite scenes. So what about you? And then we can wrap this video up.
My favorite scenes were probably obviously the beginning, like you said. That's definitely one of my favorite scenes as well. Um, this isn't my favorite scene. It's just this is one of the funnier scenes in the movie to me when he's getting his new seat at the TVA. And then like the freaking weird ass TV agent keeps like slapping his, ass and like grabbing his crotch or whatever. And like he comes out like he's loving the suit, but then he just throws in that little thing. He's like, oh, Taylor is totally a predator, by the way. Like, so I thought that was really funny. I think what else? Yeah, I'm a really big fan of kind of that scene you were talking about with the when they're driving up to Cassandra Nova's base. But when Blade, pulls out his I think it was like some rocket launcher or something
Yep.
and he shoots it like, oh, so there's ever gonna be one Blade or whatever. But like, I loved it just for the fact that I think we saw it, me and you saw it at Dolby Cinema or something like that, or Dolby, whatever it's called, and like the music was bumping in there, it was like it was a really cool scene. And obviously you have Wolverine coming out of the back, you know, of the minivan they were in, and then it's like a cool reveal, like he actually wound up showing up. So the whole I love team up scenes. That's like the best scenes in these movies. Like from the Avengers to the Guardians to obviously the X-Men now, or X-Men characters. So I love team up scenes. They're always the best. They always got to have them in slow mo to some, sick song or whatever. They always got to do that. But it's like the cliche thing, but it's still cool. It'll never not be cool. And um, I think that's pretty much it. Those are my favorite scenes in the movie. Overall, I think like there's not a lot of movie like scenes that like stand out in like a way where it's like oh my God. I think that overall it's a pretty well paced and well written movie.
Yeah, and I agree, and that's I think, getting into our ratings, our casual cinema ratings, our we did was it a letter grade that we did or was it a number? I believe it was a
I
number
would just
grade.
do it at a 10.
I believe this
Oh,
movie a 9.5 out of 10.
I'm gonna
I
say
really
out of our
enjoyed it.
casual stars, we're still doing that
Oh yeah,
casual
our
stars.
casual stars.
No, I just made that up. I don't think we've done that
Oh,
before.
I like that though. I like that. So I'm
Oh,
gonna give it a number rating, 9.5 out of 10. And casual stars, I like I said, I'll give that a 9.5 out of 10 casual
nine and
stars.
a half stars.
Yeah.
All
The
right.
reason why I say half is because I feel like some of the jokes were kind of a little bit cringe to me. Like they didn't really hit for me, like how they
Mm-hmm.
might did for other people. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
just knock that a little bit of points for that. Just that's just me being nitpicky, but like
I
I said,
I say like it's like an 8 out of 10, 8 out of 10 casual stars for me. Like it's not like it's not like that's high enough for me. Like it's gonna take a lot for me to give a 9 or whatever, but maybe Avengers Doomsday can get there, or whatever. No, obviously that's what they're doing next. There's no more Kang Dynasty. It's Avengers Doomsday. I guess we can kind of talk about it a little bit right here. How do you feel about the RGJ casting as Doctor Doom? I know you weren't a big fan of it.
yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it. This is one thing I meant to say when you're talking about the multiverse thing. I think I think it's a double-edged sword for Marvel, in a way, it does bring them the opportunity to, cast, and show us different variations of characters and bring in, cool cameos, but Marvel can also get lazy and just kind of recycle old actors and actresses to play new roles. And, I think that's what they were doing with Doctor Doom. They could have actually gotten a person who can culturally and, personally connect with the role, like maybe get a Romani, actor like how Doctor Doom is in the actual comics, instead of just blindly just going for the blockbuster hit. Like I can't imagine RDJ being Doctor Doom. I saw some people saying he's going to be an Iron Man Doom variant. I don't like that at all. I wish they could have just, really been more innovative with it and just kind of went, a different direction with another actor. So I didn't like the casting. I think you didn't either. How did you feel about it?
I wasn't like over the moon about it. I know that's probably what they would have wanted. Like oh my God, RTJ, but because I think they'll probably be like, the same way, Chris Evans played Human Torch and Captain America. You could do the same thing with Iron Man or whatever, like where it's like RTG plays Iron Man and he plays Doctor Doom, like maybe Chris Evans can play not can play, but maybe they'll say like, well, he's played maybe another variant of Red Skull for all I know. I don't know, just something, like, so I mean it's the multiverse, so you can kind of do whatever you want, I guess, but I'm not like it could be I think it could be written like very well. Like the one thing that I could think of right now off the top of my head, first of all, don't let him be an Iron Man variant. Like don't, just absolutely not. Tony Stark, whatever, like nothing like that of that sense. Just let him be Doctor Doom. Because if you're making him an Iron Man variant, you're already setting yourself up for failure. So completely separate the characters. You're gonna have to make sure it's separate. Because a lot of people aren't like us, where we're gonna like we're not going to assume like some people who don't watch these videos or whatever, like they're like, wait, what's Iron Man doing here? And on top of that, I think a cool way you can implement it is to where, maybe I don't know. The Avengers need an Iron Man variant in Avengers Doomsday, and they pull him thinking he's an Iron Man variant since he looks like, RDJ, who played Iron Man in the MCU 616, and they pull him in and they think he's Iron Man, but secretly behind the scenes, like, he's, pulling strings together or whatever and creating the destruction of the multiverse in a way, so that he can, create Battle World and all that, so maybe that's one way you could do it. is that the way they're gonna do it? Again, I don't know. I'm not in the writer's room. Me or you're not in the writer's room, so we won't know. But just one thing for certain: don't make him an Iron Man variant. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, and like I said, I agree with that too. And I think that's all I have to say, in this video. I really enjoyed the movie. Jared did as well. And we look forward to, more MCU projects, kind of like this in the future. Is there any
Yeah.
last things you want to say?
Just I hope this paves the way for more adult versions of Marvel movies. Honestly, obviously they don't always have to be crude or whatever. They could just be violent and brutal, whatever. But I, I think that it's time for Marvel to grow up, in a way, because I think, with the 10 years from Iron Man to Endgame, it was like we grew up with that, but then it's time to grow up further. You take out Iron Man and Captain America and all these important heroes, there's a lot more heroes that are going to need to step up to the plate. And a lot of these characters are street level characters as well, like Daredevil and Punisher, and they're brutal. They're all brutal characters. They've all had brutal shows as well. So with the trailer for Daredevil Born Again, that show looks brutal. And that's a Disney Plus show. That show, Echo, was brutal in itself as well at some points too. But I still feel like they held back a little bit. But with Daredevil, it looks brutal. So I'm excited to see this more mature content. Like obviously they don't have to go over the top with it, but where it's like unrecognizable, but to see the mature content, I want to see that, where it's just these brutal fight scenes, well choreographed. You could tell they put time and effort into it, not just this big CGI slugfest where there's freaking characters who are nameless aliens just firing missiles down into the Avengers or whatever. Like, no, like we'll get to that obviously with Doomsday, but like these certain characters, like Daredevil and others, and that or others that get brutal. They get brutal, So I'm excited to see. Hopefully, this paves the way for more mature adult content for Marvel.
Yeah, adult content sounds crazy, but I get
I
what you
know, and
mean.
I'm not saying that adult content. I mean like
Yeah,
TVMA,
yeah,
rated
yeah.
R stuff. So not TVPORN.
But I agree, and I hope it paves the way for that as well. And this is definitely a step in the right direction. But that's all we have for you guys, and in this video. It's great to be back. We have seen Twisters too, so we do have a casual review coming about that soon. That's actually a surprising movie for both of us. So shout out to Jared for really buying the tickets for us and giving us opportunity to watch that movie. Um, we've also are interested in Alien Romulus, so hopefully we can get into the theaters and see that soon. Get a review for you guys. But, all in all, that's what we have for you today. It's great to be back, great to review movies for you guys. We're Casual Cinema. Also, make sure to check out our other channel, Birds of Prey Sports, where we cover Ravens and Orioles news. Shout out to Jared. He does his thing when it comes to making the edits on our Instagram and keeping up with the games on Twitter. So shout out to him and everything he does with that. And make sure you subscribe to that. Subscribe to our TikTok, our Twitter, all Birds of Prey Sports. And that's all we got for you guys today. And we're out.
Right.